The Medici family, synonymous with Florence's golden age, were more than just bankers. They were the original art moguls, sponsoring geniuses like Michelangelo, Leonardo, and Raphael, turning their city into a gleaming jewel of creativity. They collected everything from ancient statues to glittering jewels, transforming their palaces and villas into treasure troves. Their influence stretched across Italy, even reaching the highest office in the church, with two Medici Popes shaping the destiny of art and faith in Rome. But here is the shocking truth: even the all-powerful Medici, with their endless wealth and legendary taste, could not save every masterpiece they commissioned. Some vanished, consumed by fire, shattered by war, or simply swallowed by the relentless march of time and renovation. These are not just forgotten objects. They are ghosts of art history, tantalizing whispers of beauty that once existed. We are about to pull back the curtain on 5 of the most legendary lost artworks commissioned by the Medici, masterpieces by the titans of the Renaissance that simply disappeared from the face of the earth. Prepare to step into a past where art was born in a blaze of glory, only to vanish into the shadows. Number 1. Leonardo da Vinci's Battle of Anghiari. The year was 1503. Florence, the bustling heart of the Renaissance, pulsed with ambition and fierce independence. After a period where the powerful Medici family had been exiled, the city was now a republic, eager to assert its strength and cultural dominance. The Gonfaloniere Piero Soderini, the head of the Florentine government, envisioned a grand artistic statement for the newly renovated Hall 500 within the Palazzo della Signoria, Florence's imposing town hall. This was no ordinary room. It was the nerve center of Florentine power, a massive space where the city's Grand Council met to deliberate the fate of the Republic. Soderini wanted something monumental, something that would scream Florentine pride and military prowess. He decided on a theme celebrating the city's military triumphs and commissioned 2 of the greatest artistic minds of the age to paint 2 colossal frescoes on opposite walls of the enormous hall. One commission went to the fiery young Michelangelo, the other to the enigmatic genius Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo, already a legend in Florence, was tasked with depicting the Battle of Anghiari, a pivotal victory for the Florentine forces against the Milanese in 1440. This was not just a battle painting. Leonardo intended it to be a raw, visceral exploration of the true chaos and brutality of war. He envisioned a central scene known as the Fight for the Standard, where horses and riders twisted in a furious knot of combat, their faces contorted in rage and fear, muscles straining, weapons clashing. Historical accounts suggest Leonardo approached this task with his characteristic experimental zeal. He researched horse anatomy, human expressions in moments of extreme stress, and the dynamics of conflict. He filled notebooks with sketches, capturing every muscle and every emotion. He planned for a painting of immense scale, something never before seen in Florence. The sheer ambition was breathtaking. Instead of traditional fresco, which required painting quickly on wet plaster, Leonardo opted for an experimental technique involving oil pigments mixed with tempera, applied to a specially prepared wall. He hoped this would allow him to work more slowly, to achieve the deep, rich colors and subtle gradations of light and shadow that were hallmarks of his easel paintings. He even devised a complex system of braziers and heat sources to dry the paint, inspired by the ancient Roman technique known as encaustic. The painting began in 1505. Descriptions from contemporaries speak of the awe it inspired, even in its incomplete state. Giovanni Paolo Lamazzo, an artist and writer, wrote of the sheer power of the central battle scene, depicting fury, hatred, revenge, and madness in the clashing figures. Lorenzo di Credi, another artist, described the ferocity of the horses, their snorting nostrils, and their teeth bared in aggression. Leonardo's preparatory drawings, some of which still exist, show the immense dynamism. He intended horses rearing, riders grappling, their bodies intertwined in a terrifying dance of death. The air in the painting, if it had ever been completed and preserved, would have vibrated with the screams of men and the thunder of hooves. But Leonardo's experimental technique quickly proved disastrous. The paint did not dry evenly. It began to run, to blister, to flake off the wall almost as soon as it was applied. The Florentine climate, too humid for his concoction, turned his ambitious masterpiece into a weeping, crumbling failure. Despite his immense talent and his groundbreaking approach, the wall itself seemed to reject his art. Leonardo, ever the perfectionist, was reportedly heartbroken and abandoned the project, leaving behind a deteriorating masterpiece that was rapidly becoming an embarrassing failure. Years passed. The political landscape of Florence shifted dramatically. In 1512, the Medici family, led by Giovanni de' Medici, who would soon become Pope Leo X, returned to Florence, ending the Republican interlude. Their power was re-established, and Florence once again became, in effect, a Medici dominion. Decades later, in 1555, Cosimo I de' Medici, now Duke of Florence, embarked on a colossal renovation project for the Palazzo della Signoria. He wanted to transform the old Republican palace into a grand, imposing ducal residence, a symbol of his absolute rule. He commissioned Giorgio Vasari, the famed artist, architect, and art historian, to lead this massive undertaking. Vasari was tasked with completely redecorating the Hall of 500, a space that still held the failing remnants of Leonardo's Battle of Anghiari and Michelangelo's unfinished Battle of Cascina. Vasari, a devoted admirer of Michelangelo and a respectful, if sometimes critical, chronicler of Leonardo, was faced with a dilemma: what to do with the works of these giants. Michelangelo's cartoon for the Battle of Cascina had already been cut up and dispersed, but Leonardo's crumbling mural was still there, however faded and damaged. Vasari, driven by Cosimo's desire for a complete transformation, proceeded with his own frescoes depicting new Florentine victories suitable for the new ducal regime. The question that has haunted art historians for centuries is this: did Vasari destroy Leonardo's masterpiece, or did he somehow preserve it? Vasari wrote about the challenges of working in the Hall of 500, noting the great and difficult task of adapting the space. He claimed that he covered Leonardo's painting with his own, building a new wall in front of it. This has fueled the enduring theory that Leonardo's Battle of Anghiari might still exist, hidden behind Vasari's later frescoes. Modern technology has even been employed in the search. In the early 2000s, art restorer Maurizio Saracini used endoscopes and radar technology to examine Vasari's wall. His team found a gap between Vasari's painting and the original wall, and intriguing evidence of pigments consistent with those used by Leonardo. They also discovered a small, almost invisible flag painted on Vasari's fresco with the words "Cerca trova," seek and you shall find. Was this a subtle clue left by Vasari, a hint that Leonardo's work lay hidden beneath? The idea that one of Leonardo's greatest works, a painting described by contemporaries as a triumph of emotion and dynamism, could be preserved, untouched, for centuries behind another wall, is an intoxicating thought. It captures the imagination. Yet, direct access to confirm this theory has been controversial due to the need to potentially disturb Vasari's own valuable frescoes. The fate of Battle of Anghiari remains one of art history's most profound and captivating mysteries. Was it destroyed, or does it merely await rediscovery, a silent painted phantom beneath layers of later art, a testament to Medici power and its sweeping influence on Florence's artistic landscape, for better or worse? Number 2, Pontormo's frescoes for the Medici Villa of Careggi. The Medici family owned numerous villas scattered across the Tuscan countryside, each a sanctuary from the bustling city and a stage for their lavish lifestyle. Among them, the Villa di Careggi held a special place. It was the family's ancestral home, a beloved retreat where Cosimo the Elder, the patriarch of the Medici dynasty, had gathered philosophers and humanists, fostering a vibrant intellectual environment. Later, Lorenzo the Magnificent, Cosimo's grandson, continued this tradition, turning Careggi into a hub of Neoplatonic thought and a setting for magnificent artistic commissions. It was within this cherished family estate, under the direct patronage of the Medici, that Jacopo da Pontormo, a brilliant and somewhat eccentric artist, painted frescoes that are now completely lost. Pontormo, born Jacopo Carucci, was a fascinating figure. He was a master of what we now call mannerism, an artistic style that emerged after the High Renaissance. While the High Renaissance artists like Raphael and Leonardo aimed for harmony and idealized beauty, mannerists like Pontormo pushed boundaries. They experimented with distorted figures, exaggerated poses, vibrant and sometimes unsettling colors, and complex, often emotional compositions. Pontormo's style was intensely personal, at times melancholic, and always profoundly expressive. He received significant commissions from the Medici family throughout his career, a testament to their recognition of his unique talent, even if his art was less overtly classical than some of his contemporaries. The specific frescoes at Careggi are not fully documented in terms of their exact location within the villa or their detailed subject matter. However, historical accounts, particularly Giorgio Vasari's biographies of artists, mention Pontormo's work there. Vasari noted that Pontormo executed frescoes in the loggia and possibly other areas of the villa. These would have been large-scale works, designed to visually transform the architectural spaces, immersing viewers in the scenes depicted. The loggia, an open-sided gallery often found in Italian villas, would have been a public yet intimate space for entertaining, dining, or quiet contemplation, making it an ideal canvas for an artist like Pontormo. It is reasonable to assume, given the Medici's intellectual interests, that these frescoes would have depicted mythological or allegorical themes, perhaps scenes from classical literature or stories meant to convey moral or philosophical lessons. Pontormo's preparatory drawings, some of which survive for other commissions, hint at the dynamic, elongated figures and emotional intensity that would have characterized these lost works. We can imagine scenes filled with graceful, yet slightly unsettling figures, their eyes wide with wonder or sorrow, their bodies twisting in elegant contrapposto. The colors would have been typical of Pontormo's palette, glowing pastels, rich blues, unexpected greens, and vibrant reds, all used in unexpected combinations to create a sense of heightened reality. The compositions would have been intricate, drawing the eye through layers of narrative and symbolism, inviting viewers into a world of classical beauty, infused with a distinct, almost melancholic modernity. These frescoes would have been an integral part of the villa's ambiance, designed to delight, instruct, and impress the elite guests of the Medici. The purpose of these commissions was multifaceted. Firstly, they served as a testament to the Medici's immense wealth and their commitment to art. Sponsoring an artist of Pontormo's caliber and dedicating entire sections of a beloved villa to his work showcased their unparalleled patronage. Secondly, the art would have reinforced the intellectual and humanistic values that the Medici championed. Careggi was a place of philosophical debate, and the frescoes would have provided a visual backdrop, perhaps even illustrations, for these discussions. Lastly, they simply added to the beauty and prestige of the villa, enhancing the pleasure of those who resided there or visited. So, what happened to these vibrant creations? Unlike easel paintings that can be moved and preserved, frescoes are an integral part of the building itself. They are highly vulnerable to the passage of time and the elements. The Medici villa of Careggi, like many ancient buildings, underwent numerous changes and renovations over the centuries. Tastes changed. What was admired in one era might have been considered outdated or even undesirable in another. Frescoes could be whitewashed over, painted over with new designs, or simply allowed to deteriorate due to dampness, neglect, or structural damage to the building itself. Historical records suggest that the Villa di Careggi suffered significant alterations and periods of neglect after the Medici dynasty eventually ended in the 18th century. The frescoes exposed to the elements in an open loggia, or simply victims of later redecoration projects, likely crumbled, faded beyond recognition, or were deliberately removed to make way for new styles. There are no surviving fragments or detailed copies that give a full picture of what these vast works truly looked like. Only the fleeting mentions in historical texts, and perhaps a handful of preparatory sketches, remain as tantalizing hints of their existence. The loss of Pontormo's frescoes at Careggi is a significant blow to our understanding of his artistic output and the decorative schemes of the Medici villas. It represents not just the disappearance of art, but the erasure of an entire visual environment. We are left to piece together the fragments of what must have been an awe-inspiring vision, a vibrant window into the private world of the Medici, shaped by one of the Renaissance's most unique and emotionally charged artists. The silence, where these paintings once spoke volumes, serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of even the grandest artistic endeavors. Number 3, Andrea del Verrocchio's equestrian monument for Niccolo Vitelli. In the bustling artistic landscape of 15th century Florence, Andrea del Verrocchio stood as a colossus. He was a master of many trades, a goldsmith, a painter, and above all a sculptor. His workshop was a hive of activity, a place where young apprentices, including a certain brilliant Leonardo da Vinci, learned their craft from the ground up. Verrocchio's skill in bronze casting was legendary, pushing the boundaries of what was technically possible. While the Medici family, particularly Lorenzo the Magnificent, were his most prominent patrons, commissioning works like the iconic bronze David and Puto with Dolphin, Verrocchio's influence extended beyond Florence's city walls. The commissioning of an equestrian monument was a rare and immensely prestigious honor in the Renaissance. Such statues, depicting a military leader on horseback, were direct descendants of ancient Roman imperial monuments. They required not only immense artistic talent, but also extraordinary technical skill in casting tons of bronze. They were expensive, ambitious, and served as powerful symbols of civic pride and military might. It was in this context that Verrocchio undertook a commission that would ultimately be lost to history, an equestrian monument to Niccolo Vitelli. Niccolo Vitelli was a condottiero, a mercenary captain who led armies for hire. He was a significant figure in the complex political chessboard of 15th century Italy. Vitelli served the Florentine Republic faithfully, acting as a crucial military ally in their territorial disputes and power struggles with neighboring states. As an acknowledgement of his valuable service and a symbol of their alliance, the Florentine Republic decided to honor him with a grand public monument in Pistoia, a city allied with Florence, which Vitelli had helped to secure. While not a direct Medici commission in the sense of a family member paying for it privately, the Florentine Republic at this time was heavily influenced, if not outright controlled, by the Medici family, particularly Lorenzo the Magnificent. Lorenzo cultivated relationships with condottieri and understood the strategic importance of such public gestures. Verrocchio, as the leading sculptor in Florence and a favorite artist of the Medici, was the natural choice for such a monumental undertaking. The commission was likely placed around 1480 during the height of Verrocchio's career. Imagine the artist, fresh from completing his groundbreaking bronze Puto with Dolphin, now tackling a project of even greater scale and complexity. While no direct descriptions or detailed preparatory drawings of the Vitelli monument survive, we can infer its likely grandeur by looking at Verrocchio's masterpiece, the equestrian statue of Bartolomeo Colleoni in Venice, which he began shortly after the Vitelli commission. The Colleoni statue is a tour de force of bronze casting and dynamic composition. The horse is powerful, muscles rippling, one leg lifted, as if in mid-stride the rider is commanding, full of fierce determination. The Vitelli monument would have shared these qualities, projecting authority, strength, and a sense of enduring presence. Verrocchio would have begun with detailed models, perhaps in wax or clay, to work out the pose of the horse and rider. The bronze casting process itself was an immense undertaking, involving intricate molds, furnaces, and a team of skilled assistants. It was a risky business, with the potential for catastrophic failure at every stage, but Verrocchio was a master. The finished monument, standing proudly in a public square in Pistoia, would have been a sight to behold. It would have dominated its surroundings, a towering bronze testament to Vitelli's valor and Florence's gratitude and power. The general would have been depicted in full armor, perhaps with a baton or sword, his face stern and resolute, capturing the essence of a seasoned military commander. The horse, likely a powerful stallion, would have been rendered with anatomical precision, its veins bulging, its hooves poised. It would have served as a permanent reminder of Florentine military reach and artistic excellence. The purpose of the statue was clear. It was a public acknowledgement of Vitelli's service and loyalty, a strategic message to other potential allies, and a proud display of Florentine artistic and technical superiority. It was a symbol of strength, both military and cultural. Sadly, this magnificent bronze monument, a testament to Verrocchio's genius and Medici-era Florentine patronage, met a violent end. The 15th and 16th centuries in Italy were a period of constant warfare, shifting alliances and brutal sieges. Pistoia, located strategically between Florence and other rival cities, was frequently a contested territory. The public monuments, especially those celebrating military figures, were often targets during conflicts. They were symbols of the enemy's power, and their destruction was an act of conquest and humiliation. Historical accounts confirm that the monument to Niccolo Vitelli was indeed destroyed. While the exact date and circumstances are somewhat unclear, it is widely believed that it was dismantled or melted down during a period of warfare or political upheaval in Pistoia, likely in the early 16th century. Bronze, being a valuable metal, was often melted down for its raw material to be repurposed for cannons, bells, or coinage. It was a pragmatic, if tragic, fate for a work of art. The monument likely became a casualty of war, reduced from a symbol of lasting glory to a pile of scrap metal, its artistic merit sacrificed for immediate military or economic need. No major fragments of the Vitelli monument have ever been recovered. We are left only with the historical records of its commission and the knowledge of Verrocchio's immense skill as a bronze sculptor glimpsed through his surviving works like the Colleoni monument. The loss of the Vitelli statue means we have one less monumental bronze by one of the Renaissance's most important artists, a gap in the understanding of his stylistic development and his response to specific civic commissions. It stands as a powerful reminder that even the most ambitious and technically challenging artworks were vulnerable to the volatile political landscape of the Italian Renaissance, a casualty of the very power struggles the Medici so often orchestrated. Number 4, Raphael's lost papal commissions for Pope Leo X. Giovanni de' Medici, who became Pope Leo X in 1513, was a true Medici. He inherited his family's profound love for the arts, but on an even grander, more opulent scale than his father, Lorenzo the Magnificent. As Pope, Leo X commanded immense resources and saw art not just as a source of personal pleasure, but as a powerful tool for projecting papal authority, wealth, and the glory of God. He famously declared, "Let us enjoy the papacy, since God has given it to us." And enjoy it he did, transforming the Vatican into a vibrant center of artistic production, attracting the brightest stars of the Renaissance. Among these stars, Raphael was his absolute favorite. Raphael, born Raffaello Sanzio da Urbino, was at the peak of his prodigious talent when Leo X became pope. He had already established himself as a master of harmonious composition, graceful figures, and profound emotional expression. Under Leo X, Raphael's workshop in Rome became a bustling art factory, producing an astonishing array of works, frescoes for the Vatican stands, portraits, altarpieces, and designs for tapestries and decorative schemes. Leo X entrusted Raphael with major commissions, allowing the artist to define the visual identity of his papacy. While many of Raphael's works for Leo X survive, like the famous portraits of the Pope himself or the Vatican Logge, historical accounts and inventories tantalize us with mentions of other, equally significant commissions that have since vanished. These were not minor sketches or preliminary studies. These were finished works intended for the Pope's private chambers, his diplomatic gifts, or specific projects that were never fully realized or have simply been lost to time. For example, some records suggest Raphael produced multiple versions of portraits for the Pope, or other allegorical or narrative paintings that have since disappeared. One particular category of lost Raphael commissions for Leo X would be large-scale narrative or allegorical frescoes or easel paintings for now destroyed or heavily renovated rooms within the Vatican Palace or other papal residences. We know that Leo X commissioned Raphael to work on extensive decorative programs beyond the famous stands. Imagine a grand fresco depicting a lost scene from papal history, or a complex allegory celebrating the virtues of the Church, or perhaps a series of smaller, exquisite cabinet paintings intended for a private study, each one a jewel of artistic perfection. These works would have displayed Raphael's signature grace, his mastery of human form, and his ability to convey complex narratives with clarity and beauty. The colors would have been rich and luminous, the figures idealized yet full of life, and the compositions balanced and harmonious. The purpose of these lost commissions was multifaceted. They served to glorify Leo X and his papacy, presenting him as a cultured and powerful leader. They enhanced the beauty and prestige of the papal residences, making them fitting environments for the spiritual and political leader of Christendom. They could also have been diplomatic gifts, impressing foreign dignitaries and strengthening alliances. Each work was a testament to the Pope's taste and Raphael's unparalleled skill, transforming walls and canvases into profound statements of faith, power, and beauty. The reasons for their loss are varied and often tragic. The primary culprit for the destruction of many Roman artworks from this period was the infamous sack of Rome in 1527. Just a few years after Leo X's death, mutinous imperial troops, under the command of Emperor Charles V, besieged and sacked the city. This was not just a military takeover, it was an unrestrained, brutal rampage. Churches were desecrated, palaces looted, and artworks were systematically destroyed, stolen, or damaged beyond repair. Paintings were slashed, sculptures smashed, and precious objects melted down. Many works were simply carried away by soldiers, disappearing into private collections or being lost en route. A large allegorical painting or a substantial portrait, if it was in a private chamber or a less fortified part of the Vatican, would have been highly vulnerable during this period of chaos. Another reason for loss could be later renovations. Popes frequently updated and redecorated the Vatican palaces, often building new structures or tearing down old ones to make way for new architectural or artistic tastes. Frescoes could be plastered over, easel paintings could be relocated, go missing during transit, or simply be deemed outdated and discarded. The sheer volume of art produced in Rome during the Renaissance meant that some works, even by masters, eventually fell out of favor or were simply overshadowed by newer commissions. The disappearance of these Raphaels means a gap in our knowledge of the artist's full breadth and output under Leo X. While we have stunning examples of his papal commissions, the lost works represent narratives, subjects, or experimental approaches that we can now only guess at. Our understanding of Raphael's relationship with his most important patron and the full extent of his decorative schemes for the Vatican remains incomplete. We rely on fragmented written descriptions, old inventories, or echoes in later copies that may or may not truly capture the original's brilliance. The very absence of these works serves as a poignant reminder of the fragility of even the most celebrated art in the face of political upheaval and the relentless passage of time. The lost Raphaels for Pope Leo X are a testament to the immense artistic flourishing of the papal court and the equally immense tragedy of what was consumed by the fires of history. Number 5. Benvenuto Cellini's lost gold and silver masterpieces for Cosimo I de' Medici. Cosimo I de' Medici, who became Duke of Florence in 1537, and later the Grand Duke of Tuscany, was a formidable and ambitious ruler. He consolidated Medici power, transformed Florence into a stable and centralized state, and embarked on massive building and artistic projects that solidified his family's legacy. Unlike his predecessors, Cosimo ruled with an iron fist, but he also understood the power of art to legitimize his rule and project an image of unparalleled wealth, sophistication, and taste. His court was a glittering spectacle, and he surrounded himself with the finest craftsmen and artists. Among them, few were as talented or as tempestuous as Benvenuto Cellini. Benvenuto Cellini was a true Renaissance man, but with a wild streak. He was a goldsmith, sculptor, writer, and even a soldier whose autobiography offers a vivid, if sometimes exaggerated, account of his life and times. Cellini was renowned for his extraordinary skill in working with precious metals. He could transform gold and silver into breathtakingly intricate sculptures, jewels, and table ornaments, infusing them with a sense of life and drama that few could match. He was fiercely independent, often clashing with patrons, but his genius was undeniable. Cosimo I de' Medici was captivated by Cellini's unique talent and became his most important patron in Florence, commissioning numerous works in gold, silver, and precious stones. Many of Cellini's most magnificent works for Cosimo. The first were in precious metals, designed to adorn the ducal tables, personal chambers, or serve as lavish diplomatic gifts. We know about these commissions from Cellini's own writings, Cosimo's meticulous court inventories, and accounts from visitors to the Medici court. While his bronze masterpieces like Perseus with the head of Medusa survive, many of his intricate gold and silver pieces are now completely lost. Consider, for example, a monumental silver piece, perhaps a salt cellar or a large table ornament, of the kind described in Cellini's autobiography or mentioned in court records. Cellini was famous for his elaborate salt cellars, like the one he created for Francis I of France, which depicted Neptune and Tellus. For Cosimo, he might have crafted something equally ambitious, perhaps depicting a mythological scene like Jupiter and Ganymede in silver, or a classical triumph or an allegorical representation of Florence's prosperity. These pieces would have been works of staggering detail. Imagine figures sculpted in solid silver, their bodies rendered with anatomical perfection, draperies flowing, expressions animated. Precious gems might have been inlaid into their bases or used to highlight details. The surfaces would have been exquisitely chased and engraved, catching the candlelight and dazzling onlookers. Such a piece would not have been merely functional. It was a sculpture in miniature, designed to be admired from every angle, picked up, and marveled at. The purpose of these precious metal commissions was primarily to display Cosimo's immense wealth and sophisticated taste. In the Renaissance, owning such exquisite objects made of gold and silver was the ultimate status symbol. These pieces were used during lavish banquets and court ceremonies, impressing visiting dignitaries and solidifying Cosimo's image as a powerful and cultured ruler. They were expressions of pure luxury, objects that celebrated the Medici's dominance and their ability to command the finest artistry. The sad truth is that the very material that made these works so precious also led to their ultimate demise. The gold and silver were, and still are, highly valuable commodities. In times of war, economic hardship, or even just shifting dynastic fortunes, precious metal artworks were often melted down. They were seen as a reserve of wealth, easily convertible into coinage to fund armies, pay debts, or simply to raise immediate cash. This was a common fate for such pieces throughout history, reducing masterpieces into mere raw material. Cellini himself, in his autobiography, laments the melting down of some of his earlier works, describing how they were reduced to powder by the mint. This was the most likely fate for many of the golden and silver pieces he created for Cosimo I. Florence, despite Cosimo's efforts, faced financial pressures, and subsequent Medici rulers or their successors might have found it necessary to liquidate these assets. A complex silver sculpture, no matter its artistic brilliance, was first and foremost a large quantity of precious metal. The loss of these Cellini masterpieces is particularly poignant because they represent a significant portion of his output, a category of work where he excelled. While his bronze and marble sculptures endure, the glittering, intricate world of his gold and silver creations is largely gone. We are left with only tantalizing descriptions in his writings and the occasional inventory entry, providing a glimpse into a lost realm of opulent beauty and unparalleled craftsmanship. There are no theories of rediscovery for these pieces. They were not hidden, but deliberately destroyed, their artistic form sacrificed for their material value. The vanishing of Cellini's gold and silver works for Cosimo I de' Medici highlights the inherent fragility of art made from valuable materials. It speaks to a different kind of loss, one not caused by neglect or war, but by the practical realities of economics and the enduring power of money. These vanished masterpieces are a testament to the Medici's extravagant patronage and the tragic, often overlooked fact that even the most beautiful and meticulously crafted objects can be reduced to their base elements, leaving behind only the ghost of their former glory.